Governor Newsom filed an emergency motion to stop the president's deployment of military troops in Los Angeles today. For more on that and the state's response to the protests, we're joined by California Attorney General Rob Bonta. Attorney General, thank you so much for joining us. In this lawsuit, you call President Trump's deployment of the National Guard and Marines unlawful. As you see it, what aspect of the law is he breaking?
Well, there's two separate areas of the law that he's breaking. The first is he is involved in an unlawful power grab and trying to exercise power he doesn't have. There's a statute that he relies on for the deployment of the National Guard. It's 10 U.S.C. 12406. It requires there to be a rebellion or an invasion or the inability of the federal government to execute the laws of the United States, none of which are present. It also requires him to consult and confer with and have the consent of the governor. The Marines are a somewhat separate issue. They are governed by what's called the Posse Comitatus Act, in effect in the United States since the late 1800s. And it basically says that the military shall not be used on American soil for civilian law enforcement. And so they are restricted in what they are able to do. They're not able to be involved in traditional law enforcement activities, searches and seizures and detentions and arrests in neighborhoods and in communities. So there is unlawfulness in multiple ways.
The administration's court filing in response called your motion legally meritless and went on to state, if entered, plaintiff's proposed order would jeopardize the safety of Department of Homeland Security personnel and interfere with the federal government's ability to carry out operations. What's your response?
Typical, and what you'd expect from the federal government. Lots of rhetoric, short on evidence. The law has clear and unambiguous words. It has clear meaning. It needs to be followed, and it's easily followable, and they're not following it. It's that simple. We've sued the Trump administration 25 times in 20 weeks because that's how often they violated the law. This is another example. And
so I believe you said 25 lawsuits in 20 weeks. Have you heard any rulings yet on those?
Yeah, in nearly all the cases where we've gotten rulings, we have gotten orders in our favor. And so we're winning these cases. We're getting restraining orders. We're getting preliminary injunctions. We're getting orders from judges who are saying, you're likely to win this case. And you are being injured by the unlawful conduct of the federal government.
Some saw the images over the weekend and considered them to be alarming. Monday, of course, the National Guard troops were in position. Things calmed down considerably. Do you think that President Trump is on fair ground when he says that he's restoring order to the city?
Not at all. Issues were calmed down on Saturday night by the Sheriff's Department and by the LA Police Department using their own internal resources. The National Guard had not arrived yet. When they did arrive the next morning, on Sunday morning, they arrived to quiet streets. And they have not been out in the field addressing any unlawful conduct. They've been in a federal building protecting one, maybe two federal buildings. So the local law enforcement, as planned and as expected, have taken care of the issues on the ground.
President Trump has called the protesters insurrectionists. Now, what's unique about him using that word insurrectionists is he can now invoke the Insurrection Act. What happens in the event that he does that?
He will try, and it's obvious and transparent what he's trying to do. He's trying to call something an insurrection that is not an insurrection. We've seen protests like these after NBA teams win the NBA finals and Super Bowl champions are named, and local law enforcement takes care of it routinely and with the resources that they have, and that has happened again here.
The lawsuit against President Trump is on behalf of the people of California. Among those people, no doubt, Trump voters. Why should they and other supporters of the president across the country really be invested in what this lawsuit is pushing back on?
Because what this lawsuit is, what it stands for, is the rule of law, the Constitution, states' rights, freedoms, and protections that are protected by law and the Constitution. And the Constitution is our foundational document, and everyone must follow the law, including, yes, the President of the United States.
California Attorney General Rob Bonta, we thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.